All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to CrossBridge Global Partners webinar. My name is Michael Camarina. I am the Partnership Manager here at CrossBridge. And today's webinar is part two in our series of how to take your MSP from $2 million to $10 million in less than 2 years. And today's topic specifically is going to be part two about building brand recognition. Our speaker today is Pierre Kerbaj. Pierre is the Chief Revenue Officer for CrossBridge Global Partners. He's got a lot of experience in the MSP space. He started his own MSP back in 1999, built that up into the largest privately owned managed IT services company in the state of Texas, which is quite an accomplishment. And so his experience is very relevant to our conversation today. And I'm sure that everyone that's attending this webinar is going to get a lot of value out of what he has to say. So we're very grateful that he's able to join us today. Um, just so you know, if you have any questions for Pierre or for myself, Michael Camarina, you can put them in the Q&A chat, which will be popping up soon. We will be answering some of those questions on the air, but if not, we will respond to you in the chat itself. But either way, your questions will get answered, so please feel free to ask any questions that come to mind. And so with that, I'm going to pass it off to Pierre. So Pierre, take it away.
Thank you so much, Michael. Hello, everyone. I think I know many of you that are logged in. So I would like to start by saying thank you for your time. Thanks for being with us. It's a privilege to speak in front of you, and it's a privilege to have you with us. Just very quick announcement. There's a Q&A section, like Michael just stated. It just appeared onto the top right-hand corner. So screen on the right, on the top, you'll see Q&A and speakers, etc. So feel free to ask questions, and those questions can be relating to any topic that we're working on today. So whether it's how do I grow my company, do I have the situation, what are the best practices. So if you're interested in that, feel free to ask us the questions, and we'll address them before the end of this webinar. This webinar is 1 hour long, and I promise to make this webinar 99% of it about you and about the topic, not about us. And that's the section where I will advertise us, and then we'll launch right into the webinar. So thank you for allowing me to do this. So let's talk about CrossBridge Global. So CrossBridge Global Partner is a staffing agency. We're a small staffing agency. We always say we're a boutique staffing agency. And by the way, if you'd like to check us out on the web, it's gocrossbridge.com. Gocrossbridge.com. We had to put that go because Crossbridge is apparently the name of a very famous church. Um, be it as it may, gocrossbridge.com. We are a recruiting company, we are a staffing company, but we do something different than all the others. And that is that we recruit folks out of Latin America for the US audience, for the US companies. Specifically, we do two things and two things only. We're in the high tech world. We don't recruit, say, for example, workers in the healthcare industry, even though we have done it multiple times in the past. Today, we've decided to be very honed in, very, very laser focused on the MSPs, MSSPs, and also those folks that develop applications. So, people that are ISVs, those independent software vendors, or we call them also SaaS, software as a service these days, because many things have moved to the cloud, if not most everything. And so whether you're developing an application or applications, whether you're doing it for yourself or whether you're doing it for clients, that's exactly what we do. Is we give you the staffing that enables you to develop those applications. So do you need a Python developer? Do you need a full stack developer? Do you need a Java developer? Reach out for us. We have some of the best. So we're a team of about 140, 150 people. We vary a bit depending on how many we're hiring. And we've been around for about 10 years, but 8 of those 10 years we've been honed in on this, which is placing IT folks and IS folks. So IT technicians, so you want that CISSP, you want somebody that's a security fantastic person that does nothing but penetration testing all day long. You want to bill them out at $1,000 per penetration testing, and he or she can do two or three of them a day or four of them a day. We'll give you a cost, and that cost would be a net cost to you, meaning that, let's say, for example, and I'm just going to take an example. We say it's $30 an hour. That is the net, meaning that you don't have to pay taxes on top of that. There's no FICA, there's no FUCA, there's no Social Security, and there's no health care. We take care of all of those things. We give them our health care, we give them our everything from here. So if something is, say, $35 an hour, $30 an hour, whatever it is that we quote you, that is what you pay. And that is your net. So there's no 20% or 30% to add on top of it because of the benefits and taxes and so on and so forth. Now, we're not the first to do this. There have been many others that do it. What we do that's different is that we think that the talent in Latin America is quite interesting because first they work on the same time zone as the United States. So I know there's a lot of people that hire in India. There's some people that hire in Southeast Asia and South Central Asia. Well, and I'm sure they're great people, but there are many differences in that. First of all, the time zones, and it's not fun to wake up your team at 2 o'clock in the morning so as to meet with the team that you have in, say, India or anywhere in the Southeast Asian corner. So our first advantage is that those folks that are often, forgive me, college degree graduates and have years of experience, many 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and that's where we get the requirement from you. So we say has its place and portals have their place. Where we're different is that we put people that get to know you, get to know your business, and understand exactly what it is that you want. Believe me, we do understand the MSP work and the MSP world. So if the MSPs need a technician, a level one, a level two, or level three, that's all you have to say. We'll present you even with a pre-made requirement. You give us your blessing to go find those people. We typically find people within a day or two, and we typically can get them employed within a week and indoctrinate them into the system. Now, those people report to you. They don't report to us. They're 100% your people to work with. We try to shy away from the word employee because they're really not an employee because we are paying all the taxes and all the health care. So you get the best of both worlds. You get the best of the the knowledge, the culture, the time zones, and so much other benefits for you. And we get to pay all the things that don't add, quite honestly, any value for you. And here's the big difference between us and other countries is that the folks that come to work for us, we have a 96% retention. Typically, they stay and they stay for a very long time. So when you hire that person, you can count on them to be there for a very long time. So that's it. I'll stop here. I promise you there's no more advertisement about us. We're going to go ahead and launch into the company. So if you need people and you're okay with them working remotely, obviously you can give them a Teams username, password. You can put them part of your Active Directory, part of your organization, give them a branded email. That's totally up to you. Or if you want to communicate with them by phone, you can do that as well too. So reach out to myself or to Michael Camarina. Michael is the person that is our partnership manager. He works with partners and has for many years. So do I. So feel free to reach me or reach them. So basically, all you have to do is just give us an email: sales@gocrossbridge.com. Sales@gocrossbridge.com. We'll flash a phone number here at the end if you prefer to do that and call us. But typically, an email, the way we'd like to do things, shoot me an email, shoot us an email, and that'll go to our entire sales retention folks. We will set up a time that's good for you to talk to you. And we promise you there won't be any PowerPoint presentations. It's just a one-on-one talk. It's just us and you, and to understand exactly what it is that you're looking for. And if you give us the go ahead, we'll send you an MSA. You'll sign off on it if you're okay with it. And then We'll decide on how much per hour you're willing to work to pay for that specific job, and then we go look for them. And we typically have them either on staff already, or we can find them very quickly. That's it. And then I'm going to go ahead and launch into it. Isa, I know that we're having some issues on LinkedIn, but we're just going to go ahead and forge through this and hope that LinkedIn, or we can fix the link between us and LinkedIn. So this hour, this next 50 minutes or so, um, yes, we are on video, Zach. So let's first ask, and you need to ask yourself about what is the current state of your marketing method. And the reason why it's always good to start with introspection, with looking at yourself and how you are doing um, your own things right now. So it's, and I've always said, if you don't like change, you're gonna like irrelevance a lot worse. So you have to be willing to change to be able to do things that are different, especially if those things have come to a stall. So always start. We're bombarded by phones and texts and TV and emails and all sorry, so many things these days. Some of the best times I find is that we don't get enough time to think. To think. So my first message to you is, before we even launch into specifics, is take time to think. Shut down the TV, shut down your emails, shut down your phone, close your door, get your cup of coffee, get your favorite flavored water, whatever it is that you like, and think. Think about the methods that have made you better or not made you better, and think about what some changes are needed to be able to make the company better and take it to the next step. So, all what I'm going to give you right now is the methods that have worked for me. I have founded two MSPs, one in the Kansas City area, and actually in Overland Park, Kansas. If some of you guys know that area, it's a beautiful area, and one in Austin, Texas, where uh, my family and I reside and have been here for 20 something years. So since 1999, actually. So I am on the central time zone. If you want to reach me, Austin, Texas, and I'll give you my phone number. It's 512 507 6375. 512 507 6375. That's my mobile number. You're welcome to text me if you have a quick question, and I can always call you. So let's keep going. Let's go ahead and let's talk about the different methods that, but I'd like to connect the previous webinar as well too. So um, the last time we talked about your brand. What is your brand? We talked a lot about. I gave two case scenarios. One of them was we talked about Harley Davidson and how they branded themselves. Where you walk into their store and there's everything that's branded Harley Davidson. And these guys have done such a, whether you like motorcycles or not doesn't matter. We're talking about marketing here, and how they were successful in getting everybody to talk about them. So it's, we're going to talk a lot about people talking about you, not you so much talking about you. So how do we make that movement? How do we get the world to talk about you? We've all shopped from Amazon.com, and yes, the prices are good, and yes, they have great deliveries. In some cases, the Prime is very cool. But really, what I like most about Amazon is I can go in and read the experience of others. What do others say? Now, yes, I realize there's a lot of cheating into that as well too, but sometimes it's easy to separate the wheat from the chaff and to be able to see the good from the bad and people that are just advertising for them. So, advocacy is the name of the game. So, I would like to stay on the slide right here. So, I'm just going to give you bullet points, and I'm going to talk a lot. And if you have questions, go ahead and start writing them into the Q&A. Like, Pierre, how do you do this? So we talked a lot about Starbucks and Harley Davidson. We talked about that Starbucks doesn't have necessarily the best coffee. You're not going to get the Blue Hawaiian or that Jamaican wonderful coffee that's so strong. You're going to get a decent type coffee, but what matters here or what is relevant here is that the products merely get them into the game. I'm part of so many different Facebook IT things, and everybody talks, hey, what is your stack? Hey, what do you do with this technical part? Yeah, those are all great discussions, and you must have a good foundation for an IT stack. Yes, you have to have all of these things, and yes, you have to be able to sell something like an M365 or an antivirus and anti-spam and all these things. But those merely get you into the game. What retains people is what you are doing. And what attracts people to you is your marketing. And remember, until they get to know you, the only thing they know about you is your marketing. I'll say it one more time. Until they get to know you, the only thing they know about you is your marketing. So it's all about how you present yourself. And that's every facet of the marketing. Whether you design a card that's absolutely stunning, whether you demand on your employees to look professional and not show up with a torn up t shirt and torn up jeans, you want to present that image that matters to you. If you would like to be able to present a $200 per hour candidacy for IT, then your image must reflect that price. You walk into a Lexus, you walk into a BMW, you walk into a Rolls Royce, everything changes. That image changes, and the way you start looking at things changes. And there's somebody that said, if you start looking at things differently, then the things you look at start becoming different. You start seeing things differently for yourself. So let's talk a little bit about advocacy. And what is advocacy? Advocacy is when others talk about you, not when you talk about you. Because if you start telling them how great you are, they're going to doubt it. If somebody else tells them how great you are, they're going to believe it. This is how the world of today's ideals work. People ask people, hey, who do you have that takes care of this? Who do you know that's an excellent plumber? Who do you know that's an excellent doctor? Who do you know that this? And people have an amazing power to recommend or not recommend. So that advocacy is just huge. And how do we create it? So we're going to talk a little bit about advocacy, but what I wanted to immediately start by saying is don't fall in love so much with the product, fall in love with the profits. Okay, the product's always going to be there. You're always going to have good products, and you're going to change a product that's not good. You're going to bring on a good product or a better product, but fall in love with the profits, because that's what's going to get you to where you want in life. And I hope that you're doing this to be able to retire well with your family someday, and to have the things that make you happy, whether those things that make you happy are your family, your faith, your friends, uh, your money. That's good as well too. It never hurts. Okay, so advocacy is we're going to talk a little bit about this and how things happen with advocacy. Could I please have the next slide? Thank you so much. Okay, so this is a slide that I didn't do. This is a slide that has been done before in the past, but I wanted to revive it, and I think it's very good. By the way, all the material that I'm presenting is very much unique. It's based on my experiences, but if somebody else says something, I will always let you know that this is from someone else. And honestly, I forgot who did this first. I'm sure you can Google it and find it. Everything's Googleable these days, right? So I like to say from P to E, change your attitude to go from product to experience. This is probably the most important thing, from product to experience. You know, let's talk again about Starbucks. Starbucks has coffee. They don't have the best coffee in the world. If I want the best coffee in the world, I know where to go get it. I can go get that blue Jamaican or that Hawaiian coffee, and maybe even get a roasting machine at my house and roast it and have that wonderful smell, and drink that phenomenal. That's not what Starbucks is all about. Starbucks is about an experience. And they saw something that, okay, people like coffee. Most people like to have a cup of coffee in the morning, the afternoon, whatever. And they'll typically would walk into a gas station and get a cup of coffee. Well, typically the gas station experience wasn't the best. Okay, let's just say that. Okay, typically the place wasn't the cleanest place. They had pumps outside, and even though that's very convenient, but You walk in, you can get a cup of coffee, yes, of course, and you can pay a buck or 50 cents, whatever it is. Sure, absolutely. If you want the cheapest, there is the cheapest. But how many people prefer to go to a Starbucks and spend 4 or 5 bucks and tip that barista a couple of bucks or more, and you end up spending $7, $8 on a cup of coffee? How many of us do this? Almost all of us. And you know what? We're proud. We're proud to be able to do that. Nobody takes a cup of Starbucks and goes into their office and pours it into their own mug. Of course, we don't do that. We take that Starbucks coffee, we parade it around the office 2 or 3 times, right, to show the world, hey, I'm smart. I paid $8 for that cup of coffee. I paid for that Starbucks name. I stood in line 20 minutes and paid $8. So I'm important. That's Starbucks. Starbucks is about the experience. It's about me being able to get in. There's ample parking space. The place is clean. Typically, I like to go visit the restrooms. I'll wash my hands. I'll make sure the restroom is clean. If the restroom is not clean for me, that's typically a sign that something is not right. I'll go back outside. If the restrooms are horrible, then imagine what the kitchen that you don't see is all about. So Starbucks said something that, look, we're going to clean those bathrooms. They're going to be very important. The place is going to be important. It's going to smell good. We're going to have somebody, we're going to pay them a good fee. They're going to be happy. They're going to say, good morning, sir. Good morning, ma'am. Good afternoon. Can I start something for you? Now, not every Starbucks has the best experience. And this is a point, actually, and that is, even if you put the best things in the universe and you create all of these things, one bad apple can ruin the whole thing. So it's super important that you always, always look at the team that is customer facing. Are these people the right people for you? I listened to conversation. I would present a sales rep, then I would shut up and listen to how the sales rep would present. And if this does not reflect the image of the company that I wanted to project, then I would try to train that particular person to get them there. Everybody talks about Chick-fil-A. You go to other places and you say, thank you, and they tell you, no problem. You go to Chick-fil-A, you say, thank you. They say, it's my pleasure, sir. It's my pleasure, ma'am. You know what? Those are taught. No person gives birth, no mom gives birth out of herself to a person that says it's my pleasure. Those are taught. All of these things are taught. Take the time to teach the people that you have to be professional, to be good, to represent you very well, to create that experience, because the product merely gets you into the game. It is the experience. It's all the elements, the delivery, how you create that experience, whether it's the speed. So somebody calls you. Are they waiting on if somebody calls your number right now, are they getting voicemail jail? Or are they going to get bounced 50 places before? Let's say, for example, I'm interested in buying managed services from your company, and I'm going to call that number. What's going to happen next? Now, I used to have something, and by the way, we sold a ton of voice over IP phone systems. And guess what? I did not put an auto attendant on my company. I wanted a person to pick up the phone and to say, good afternoon, good morning, network logistic. How may I reach you? How may I help you, sir? Or how may I help you, ma'am? So if they say hello, obviously, or it's a pleasure to help you, sir. So those things, the first impressions count a lot. That person that's in front of the client. And by the way, I paid good money for that person to answer the phone because I wanted people that are mature. I wanted to prepare that experience from the first second that they have touch with my company. So the person answers the phone very professionally, never says hello or I'm ready to go home. How many times have we been to a place? I'm not going to mention stores here, and you say, "Hey, how you doing?" You try to create conversation. Well, I'm ready to go home. Wow. Okay. Well, thanks for being here for me, I guess. So those things are important. Destroy that auto attendant. And you know what? If you need to hire another person, then hire that other person to help you create that experience. Don't tolerate mediocrity. Don't tolerate mediocrity. You can teach them all of these things. They're going to answer the phone, and if they want to buy managed services, they're going to send them to the person who best knows how to do managed services and train those people how to create that experience. Good afternoon, sir. I understand that you are interested in managed services. I'm so glad today. It would be my pleasure to help you. How difficult is that? It's not difficult. Is that trainable? Yes, of course. That is totally trainable. I am an immigrant. That's true. I did not come here knew how to do this. Somebody taught me. Somebody said this is the way to do it right. So create that experience. So go from product to experience. Go from you promoting yourself and say how good you are and we're the best in the world and we do this to say, you know what, actually, Mr. Customer, Mrs. Customer, I'm so glad you called. I don't want to tell you how good I am. I would like for you to call my references. And they're all on my website, by the way. And if you'd like to call somebody else, I'll be happy to give you as many names and numbers that you want. Ask them all the questions. And so you want to go from promotion about yourself to evangelism. So you want others to talk about you. I want to go from one place to every place. And I want to go from price to exchange. Those are all things that we're going to talk about. Next slide, please. Thank you so much. And this is so amazing that people don't do that, and I will talk about that. But let's start by creating that experience ladder. And the reason why I flashed this right in here is because so many times I'm blessed with having an amazing marketing department. I have people that help me, that work, that it seems like I help them, they help me. We have a team that's absolutely productive. And it took a while to form a great marketing department. So I'd like to tell them thank you for working day in and day out and answering emails at 8 p.m. and 9 p.m. when you didn't have to. So that's my thing to them, because it's not all about just money. It's about feeling good, feeling special, feeling that you're needed. And I will say something to you here, that I've experienced in my business. How many times do we hire somebody and they're very excited and they're ready to go, and the first week or two, a month or two, they come to you and they're with ideas, and they're so excited, and then all of a sudden you stop hearing from them. It's like, hey, what happened to Joe? What happened to Mary? I haven't heard from them for like a month. Fear that person that was excited, that now doesn't talk to you at all anymore, or doesn't is no longer engaged anymore. What happened? Well, if that person, you've never taken their ideas, you've never asked their opinion. And by the way, when you ask the opinion of someone, listen, be considerate of their ideas. Because if you're the only one that's putting out ideas, then only one brain is thinking. If you get the collective, if everybody's contributing, and I mean it, you buy in on everything, you sell it to them, they sell it to you. Now you have a team that's so functional. You have a team that's rowing into one particular thing. Now, sometimes I disagree with my marketing team. I did that yesterday, as a matter of fact. They brought an idea, and I said, I'm not so sure. But I didn't say no, I don't want to do it. I said, well, okay. But I had to sell them on my ideas. So it's so important that we tie marketing and sales together. But before we finish this, guys, again, I want to reemphasize this. Raw materials get you into the game, okay? So the goods and the services, you take Microsoft 365, M365, and Teams and what have you. You add your services, right? You're going to deploy that. You're going to migrate them from GoDaddy to your place, and you're going to migrate their Active Directory that was hosted onto a server to Microsoft Azure, or whatever you want to do. You're going to take their data again to Microsoft Azure, and whether it is the access of terminal services, whatever, those are all goods and services, and that's fine. But what you as the CEO, as the manager, need to be concerned with the most. Yes, of course, you definitely want to be concerned with the products and services. That goes without saying. If we're still stuck there, then we're not here. I want you to focus on the experience. How are you delivering? Because really, that's what people talk about all the time. I had bad service in that restaurant. Yeah, well, how was the food? Food was okay, but man, that waiter made me wait an hour. It's always the experience. It's always the experience that's going to make a big difference in your evangelism. If you present a great experience in the delivery, you're going to get advocacy. When you get advocacy, you're going to get evangelism. When you get evangelism, you're going to start working on marketing and sales to be together. Be sure that you tie both of those together. That marketing pushes those leads to sales, and then sales can give feedback to marketing to say, look, that wasn't a great lead. Can we tune it so that the person whom I'm speaking with is actually a decision maker and not the secretary, maybe? So um, let's be sure to tie the marketing and the sales together. Next slide, please. And I'm going to start going a little bit faster and talk a little bit more about the metrics before, during, and after. So, experiences. It's a bit difficult to measure, isn't it? How do we measure a good experience? That's tough. Um, but if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. One more time. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. One time I went to Dell, was selling them some OEM part. I'm not going to go into the details of that. And I saw that big phrase written on one of the walls. So I don't know exactly who said it, but I saw it first at Dell. And that was 20 years ago, back when they were very, very much a PC vendor. Of course, now they're worldwide connectivity, storage, VM, all kinds of interesting things. So I'm so glad that they're here in my backyard in Austin. Set your metrics before, during, and after. So everything that you do, have a way to measure success. And this is the way it starts. If you're meeting with your team, or if you're creating something yourself, maybe your team is small, maybe your team is only you. Of course, that always happens. You have to start somewhere. And I love, love, love organic growth, meaning that I am um, if I have to choose between taking money from the outside, and I'm not saying taking money from the outside to launch a company is a bad thing, it's not. But I look at so many companies that started with so little, and it was the CEO, him and his wife, maybe his wife and then him, and or small group that worked their buns off to be able to make the stuff a success. Okay, so if you're coming up with a an experience that you would like to be able to launch, set the metrics. And the question is, you ready? What does success look like? Ask that question. What does success look like? So we're going to do a marketing campaign. I'm going to email 1,000 people, and those 1,000 people, let's say for example, I do very well within healthcare. I took my team through HIPAA compliance. I know how to do HIPAA. I know a lot about security. I got a CISSP on staff, and he or she took the time to be there. So anyway, but now basically it's time to say, okay, I'm going to purchase a service that's going to email 1,000 healthcare facilities in my area of service. What does success look like? Is it 5%? Is it 10%? Is it 20%? What does it look like? So those are the things that you need to look for. And then, okay, so if I did this and I get 10 people to say, I am interested in your services, call me. But that's great. That's your first connection to the client. So that is a metric, that is a barometer of success. Next, you called them. What happened? Well, typically you have to set up a meeting. Now, whether they're in your town, you would like to go to them, they would like to come to you, you would like to do it through Teams, matters little. Now, I love the ability to be in front of my clients. COVID has changed that for us. So sometimes it has totally changed that for us. So now we've gotten used to doing this. And it's okay, it's good, it's effective. If that's your best way to reach your clients, So it shall be. And we're getting very much used to it. But if I have the possibility to be in front of them, um, that's typically the best way to do it, because you know what? The easiest thing to get rid of is a piece of email. I can just hit the delete and poof, it's out of my inbox. It's gone. That's the easiest way. Another easy way is a piece of mailer that I got in the post office mail advertising A, B, and C. Of course, we get those all the time. I can just chunk it. Okay. We all go at night and we get the good mail, the bad mail, we sort it, and my bills are here, and those are advertisement, and I'm gonna go ahead and trash them because I don't feel like talking about it. I'm not in the mood to be blasted with a bunch of stuff that I don't need. Okay, so set your metrics. So now basically you set up an appointment. Hey, that's not bad. I sent out 1,000 email, say 5 or 10, whatever that number is, reacted positively. Yes, I'd like to know more. I called and I wasn't able to set up a meeting for whatever reason. They didn't like me. They didn't like the person whom they were speaking with. Well, that's not so good. But they like me now. Let's take that inverse. Well, that's a barometer of success. Okay, so now I have meetings. How many meetings is it going to take for me to get to a proposal? And how many proposals is it going to take to get to an actual close? And by the way, I will tell you these things. I know I'm giving you guys tips here and there and gold. And folks, if you go home or if you go back to your business and take just one or two nuggets out of this, then this hour would have been worth it. And by the way, we're going to continue to do these things. So I will tell you this, something I learned. It took me about 20 years to learn this. How many of us will say we'll do this? Client says, okay, well, that sounds good. M365 with Veeam backup and um, whatever. I would like for you to go ahead and move my server to the cloud, and I'd like to access it through a VDI or some kind of terminal server, some kind of RDP, and so all good. Okay, so would you get me a proposal? Great. So you put all that stuff together, you have a proposal. How many times and how many of us will just email the proposal? And some of us will, of course, call the client to say, hey, did you get my proposal? So I'm going to tell you this. You ready? Here we go. Never, ever, 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 did I say never, ever again? Email a proposal. I know what you guys are thinking. What? What do you mean? Never email a proposal. The reason why is this. How many times have we emailed a proposal and the guy was just, or person was just chomping at the bits to get a proposal? I got a proposal by tomorrow, whatever. So you worked your buns off and you got the proposal and you sent it to him. Now they ghosted you. They become totally silent. What happened? Well, several things happened, or several things could have happened. One of them is it didn't get there. You had the wrong email address. Does that happen? Of course. So it's a possibility. Two, it went into the spam filter. Is that possible? Yeah, I find things for false positive in my spam. Now, of course, we're getting better and better and better at it, but I do still find false positives in my spam filter. And so your client never got to see it. Or here's what happens so many times. They get your proposal, they open it up, and guess what they do? They go to the last page where the price is, and they see the price and they freak out, say, holy cow, I didn't realize it was going to be that expensive. And oh, well, you know what? We can't afford that. And they never talk to you back. They just went straight to the bottom line. Perhaps that's what matters to them. And now you can't get to them anymore. So that is possible. Or guess what? How many times have people requested a proposal and then took that proposal and sent it to a competitor of yours to get competitive bids? How many times have you gotten one of those? I have several times. People say, hey, I'm going to send you a proposal of what I want, and can you bid that for me? Okay. So I'm not saying yes or no. I'm just saying okay. And so never ever email a proposal. So here's the right way, or things that made a big difference for me and for our company. Somebody asks for for the proposal. Say this, Mr. Customer, thank you so much for the opportunity to work with you and your staff. Have already met Mrs. Hobbs, and she's a wonderful person. Da, 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 da. it'll be my pleasure to go ahead and put together this proposal. It'll take me about a day or two to get it all right. Would that be okay? Yeah, sure, that'll be okay. Or no, I need it by tomorrow or whatever. Okay, so great. You've defined the timeline. Okay, could you please look at your calendar? Yeah, would you have 30 minutes on your calendar? What I'd like to do is I'd like to go over that proposal with you. Now, whether you say you'd like to come over or whether you'd say you'd like to do a Teams presentation, doesn't matter. If you can go over there, if they're within your area of service and you can get to them. By the way, don't ever be late to a client, ever. Don't also ever show up 30 minutes earlier. Show up 5 minutes earlier, and that way you're respectful of their time. So don't ever be late to a client. Anyway, so show up and say, okay, can I go over that proposal for you? Do you have some time? Maybe say 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, no, not 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Great, no problem. 3 o'clock, I'll make it work. Um, do you have time? Yes. May I send you a Teams invite or Zoom, whatever you guys use? Doesn't matter. So you send them a Zoom, a Teams invite, whatever. Now, basically, you can take them through the proposal one line at a time. And if they say, well, why? Why can't you just email me the proposal? Well, Mr. Customer, I'd like to explain. I'd like to be sure that I am quoting everything that you want and nothing that you don't. Or I want to also make sure that I'm not missing something. Thank you, by the way, for sending me my competitor's proposal. You don't want to say that. But I'd like to make sure that I am getting everything that you need and nothing that you don't. And so if they say yes, let's go ahead and meet at 2 o'clock. If they don't want to meet, then you know what? Somebody who's not prepared to spend 30 minutes with you, perhaps, just perhaps, is not worth you spending 4 hours or whatever it is to create a proposal just to send it out. That's not a serious customer. Now, yes, I have won bids before like that, but it's one in a zillion. It's about relationships. Remember, it's about evangelism. It's about relationships, that relationship that you create with your client. So get them to have a meeting with you. Mr. Client, thank you so much for meeting with me. Thank you for your time. I know that I'll ask for 30 minutes of your time. So let's get started. Okay, A, don't make stupid jokes. Don't start by cranking or cracking a joke that may be offensive to your client. I mean, you don't have to be also so tight about everything, but be respectful, be nice, be kind. Those things are very important, but start right away. Value their time, value your time. Mr. Client, if you don't mind, let's go ahead and get started. Are we ready to do it? Yes. Oh, by the way, is there anybody else that you would like to have on this call? It would be my pleasure to also send them a meeting invite right now. So make sure you get everybody that needs to be on the call so that there's a lot of times say, oh yeah, I forgot to tell Jane right in here. Okay, great, no problem. Would you like for me to send her an invite, or do you want to take her on the speakerphone? That's cool. Item number two. Item number three. Mr. Customer, would you like for me to record that meeting so that you can listen to it at a different time? Now, be super careful with that, guys. Don't start recording stuff if you don't have permission from people. That, first of all, can be illegal in some states. Okay, so that's number one. But if ask the question to get their consent if they want that. So now, in some cases, that is a Pandora box and people don't like that. So be super careful about that. If they ask you for that, still, if they ask you, you said, absolutely, it would be my pleasure. May I have your permission, sir, to record that meeting? So always ask for the permission, okay? And be sure that you're not violating any laws or anything like this. All right, so now you're presenting the proposal line by line. And the cool thing about it is if you have a camera, ask them to be on the camera. Now, some people don't like that idea, but if you can get them to be on camera, then do. That's because you are looking at them to see their expressions. If you said something that's going to cost them $10,000, whatever it is, and they're just like, poof, wow, okay, Mr. Customer, I understand that's expensive. Let's go over it for a second. I can do something that's a little bit less expensive that has most of the features. Will this be okay? It doesn't have this feature, but it it could serve what we're talking about. Would that be better? Yeah, that's much better. Or you know what? Maybe we don't buy it right now. Maybe we'll make that a phase two. Will that be better for you? So here, basically, you have the ability to you can change things on the fly. And as you do everything right there, you have now the ability to um, make changes and be sure that you send them at the very end the stuff that they need. Okay. By the way, always, if you can, do a monthly payment if you're selling capital equipment. So it's much easier to say it's $30 per month than to say it's $3,000. So lease sometimes can be an idea, but go over it with them and get to an affirmation as to what it is that they want. And if you can, at the end, to say, how does that sound? Should we go ahead and get started? I have a team that could be ready to launch this on Monday. Ask for the close. Okay. So none of these things you can do if you just send out a proposal where they don't even understand what it is that you're quoting. You quoted a UPS. The heck is that? UPS? I'd rather FedEx. I don't understand that that's an uninterruptible power supply. Maybe you quoted a router that has WAN 1 and WAN 2, so that if their first provider goes down, then they can have maybe a mobile provider so that they can be up at all times or most of the time. And obviously, so there's a cost involved in that. But now you can explain to say, by the way, this is optional, but it's a great idea these days when we live in the cloud, because if we don't have access to that, if you don't have internet, then we're out of business. Would you like to have that option? By the way, it's only $30 per month, whatever it is. So here again, you can totally do these things. So next slide, please. Thank you. And I'd like to talk about this, but I'd like to also talk about another thing before I talk about this, and that is who makes the difference. Remember, we're talking about experiences, which we said that the products merely get you into the game. It's the experience, it's the delivery, it's the way you behave, it's that employee that says, "Yes, sir, it's my pleasure." Look at Chick-fil-A again. Okay, all it is a fried fish into a sandwich. I mean, come on, guys, this isn't some secret crazy recipe, right? That takes 3 days. Uh, this isn't some amazing chef that took years to develop. It's a chicken breast in a bun. And sometimes they put a pickle into it. But again, it's about the experience. It's that person that stood outside in the cold, in the sun, to be able to get the line, get the people there. Good morning, sir. What can I get you today? And yes, sir, it's my pleasure. Would you like for me to do this? Yes, sir, it's my again, it's all the experiences. So forget so for a little bit the products and services and start focusing on how are you delivering? How is that tech? What is the expectations? Are you measuring these expectations? So I used to even measure my receptionist when he or she would answer the phone. I would listen every once in a while and I would come back and say, by the way, if you're going to do this, be sure to tell them to say, I do listen. It's not designed for me to listen to your private calls. By the way, if you are speaking on a private call, I will hang up. And do. Okay, don't be nosy. So if you're listening every once in a blue moon to a sales call, to how we're answering the phone, it is a good idea. It's not a bad idea. Do tell them. Say, by the way, when that client says, "Hi, I'm calling to get pricing on your managed services, can I speak to someone?" And you said, "Yes, I'll transfer you." Don't say that. Please say, "Thank you, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. It's my pleasure. Let me get Bob on the line right here. Let me get Mary on the line right in here. Would you please stay with me? If you can, if your phone system allows it, get Mary on the line. Mary, hi. I would like to introduce you to Robert. He's calling to get pricing on our managed services. Robert, this is Mary. She's been with us for 5 years. She's my favorite. I'd like for you guys to get together to get that pricing handled. And Mary, take it away. Bob, here you go. So connect them to, and then step outside. If you can do this and make sure that that experience is you're already from the time you say hello to the time you're delivering, it's all being measured. It's all setting that expectation. and all about that's how I measured my employee. Now, yes, of course, if they were technical, if they got their MCSE or they got their CISSP or they got their CCNP, whatever it is, yes, of course, I gave them a bump in pay. That's worth it to me because now I can get into a better situation. Say, I'd like to become a gold Microsoft reseller. Sure, of course, it goes without saying. But what matters to me most is that experience. I am going to base 80, 90% of how I bring up their salary based on the experience that they're giving to the client. The client's coming back every month for more. Chances are they love us. Okay. And by the way, think about this. If you're in sales, there's nothing stronger than the words, I love my sales rep. 5 words. That actually kills everybody else. If I'm talking to someone to say, yeah, by the way, did you go to that new place? Did you speak to that? You know what? I've been working with Joe here. I love Joe. He's an awesome person. He's great. Takes care of me all the time. The words, I love my tech. I love my sales rep is mystifying. It's disarming. Okay. It shuts down all the competition. So, number one, be a likable person because nobody wants to deal with a person that's a not so likable. Let's just say that. Okay. So, treat the people well. Do do your performance reviews about this. And if you're person, by the way, when you're interviewing, get to that character. Anybody can be taught anything. Okay, I am totally into the indoctrination that I can teach people stuff. It's difficult to change their personality. That is on them. Okay, now I can teach them how to say beautiful things. Yes, sir, it's my pleasure. Of course, these things, those should be part of your process, but your performance reviews should be all about this. So it's all about the experience. So do a scorecard based on your experience. If you're interested in learning more about that, you can always give me a call or whatever, and we'll talk a little bit more about it. You create the experience, folks. Remember, it's never about what you are selling, it's how you sell it that matters. Next slide, please. And I'm going to show you something in here and talk about the image and the prestige and uniqueness. So it's you that's going to create that image. Image is very important, it's everything. Go to a place that sells beautiful watches, let's just say. Okay, let's say you love watches and you're familiar with you're a watch collector and you're familiar with some of the brands that are high up, like a Cartier or Patek Philippe or Vacheron Constantin or some of those brands that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. And walk into their store. I love to walk into stores that are very expensive, not because I can afford them all the time, but it's because I like to learn to see what is that experience that they're creating. Now, believe it or not, I've walked into to places where they sold things very expensive and the experience was horrible. That can happen. But again, it's that one person that can make or break your company. So always, always be on the lookout to make sure that every person in your organization has bought into that system, has bought into the realization that it's all about the experience and it's about making that expected value be much, 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 much better. Let me give you a quick example, and I want to be respectful of your time here. We'll have about 10 minutes left. You walk into a fast food place. What are you expecting? I'm expecting food. I'm expecting it to be hot. I'm expecting it to be fast. And I'm expecting it to, it's no longer cheap these days, but I'm expecting it to be fast. I'm expecting it to be hot. I'm expecting it to be delivered within, a reasonable time, and I take it on a tray that's fairly clean. Maybe I'm expecting a clean table so I can put it and not stuff all over the place. That's it. Those are my expectation, and the food quality there. I know nobody goes to a McDonald's or Taco Bell or Wendy's or whatever. I don't want to pick on one brand because they want the best steak. That's not what it is. But I want to tell you just 1 minute about an experience I've had recently with a fast food where I walked in and I ordered a burger and fries and a Coke and whatever. And the person that waited on me said, "Sir, may I put a name on this order?" Sure, Pierre. Okay, very good. Thank you, Michael. Um, Pierre, by the way, we're going to be launching here our apple pies. May I offer you a free apple pie for you to try? And I'd love to get your opinion on that. Sure, no problem. Okay, very good. Well, if you'd like to sit at table three, I just had it clean, disinfected. I'll bring you your order. And that person that was nice, had a smile on his face, had a nice costume on, dress, whatever it is, and it was clean. And she brought it to me and started putting everything in front of me. And I'm going, what's going on in here? That's not the experience I normally get. That's way above the experience I'm going to get. So that's even at, say, McDonald's, okay? And then he goes, oh, and by the way, here's the apple pie. I baked it or I fried it, whatever it is. And please give me your opinion at the very end. Please enjoy. By the way, if you need anything, can I get you some ketchup? Can I get you some salt? I've taken the liberty to get a couple of extra napkins. Sometimes our sandwiches can be messy. So just these things that, wait, what? When does that ever happen? Never, ever. So I'm expecting this, but I've gotten this. And that goes in everything. That goes in relationships too. Walk home today and have some flowers for your favorite person, for your partner, your wife, your husband. Buy him. And when she says, what's that for? Just say, for you. It's just because I love you and I wanted to do something fun. By the way, can we go out tonight? I'd like to celebrate us. Okay. And you just blew them away because they weren't expecting any of that stuff. Okay. So anytime you deliver and you move the client emotionally, that's when you're going to start getting that effective comment when people say they're the best. Go there. Sell the vision, not the ingredients. Sell the vision, not the ingredients. Remember, all chefs have the same exact items. Let me just give you a quick example. My wife likes to dabble in making cakes. She has a little sidekick. I don't know if we make any money at it, but that's doesn't matter. But the way she takes a chocolate cake and makes it look like, oh my god, this is so good. And actually she does a very good job. She malts it and puts wonderful things into it and French butter and all that stuff. But all the material that's in it is probably about $10, okay? But if I tell you, would you spend $500 on sugar, cream, chocolate, and whatever? Would you spend $500 on that? And I'll tell you, out of your mind, no. But now I will put that cake in front of you and I'll say, would you spend $500 on that? Yeah, I would. So it is the presentation, folks. It is all about the experience and it is about all the expected value plus that distinctive value. What's so unique about you? What is unique about you? Forget uniqueness and price. And by the way, price. Everybody is so stuck on price, okay? And customers sometimes do that to us, right? I mean, it's they sensitize us towards this. But remember, guys, if they come to you for price, they leave you for price. Okay, so there's always going to be somebody better priced than you. So if that's the only factor of the client, then you know what? I've done this so many times where the client just bombarded me with. I went to visit them. I took them my best brochure, my best card. I was well dressed. I did this. I know I had the best technicians in town. So my people are phenomenal. They deliver an exceptional thing. And we charge effectively. We charge at $175 an hour. We were not cheap. And person will say, well, I can do this, but you're going to have to come down by 25%. And many times I just put back everything in my suitcase and I say, sir, I'm sorry, but the price is the price. I don't think we're going to be right for you. 100% of the time, the customer goes, wait, 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 wait. I didn't mean that. I mean, I didn't want you to go. Okay. So, guys, price is only an issue if you make it an issue. Don't start by giving stuff away. Because if you start by setting that kind of standard, then that's the only standard that you're going to measure yourself by. Then just go ahead and be the cheapest in town and forget about it. Okay. So, next slide, please. And we're going to start wrapping things up. And then I'd like to invite you guys for the continuation of this. So, to finish up here, 2 3 minutes, be innovative, be different, be emotional, move those emotional, be unique, and for God's sake, be relevant. Don't keep selling the same thing over and over and over again. Every single year, I take my business plan and I tear it in front of everybody in my Monday morning meeting. People go, was that a business plan that took us like a week to create? Yeah, we're gonna start all over again. Why? Well, because what made sense last year is not necessarily what's going to make sense this year. Maybe it does, but I wanted to challenge myself again and again to make sure I am relevant. Stay innovative, stay different, stay emotional, be unique, treat your people extraordinarily well so that they deliver. If they love to work with you, they'll love your clients. It's automatic. If they hate their job, they're not going to like your client. Don't just give the customer what they want. They already expect that. Give them what they absolutely love. What they absolutely love. And try this today on a personal basis. I'd like to challenge you today to walk home and do something exceptional for your husband, your wife. Go in and bring in the cake, bring in some, if she loves Chinese food, bring in the best take out food, bring in some roses, bring in a wine, do something that's I'm sorry, my dog just walked in. I apologize. So do something that's different. And with that said, um, Michael, um, last words of wisdom. Michael, by the way, is my favorite person, and he taught me a lot, by the way, about this company because he had been there for 4 years before I even came in. Michael.
Yeah, thank you, Pierre. That was great. There's a lot of valuable information in there. I'm sure, people would want to hear this webinar more than once in order to kind of get every single nugget that was in there. But this webinar is on a few different platforms right now, and so we got some chats going. And one of the questions that we had is, in what ways does Crossbridge apply these principles? You talked about a lot of different principles about building your brand. You talked about metrics. You talked about managing expectations. One of the ones that resonated with me in particular was the experience, right? The experience of the client or the prospect. So maybe we can focus on that one. In what ways does Crossbridge apply the principles that you mentioned with regards to experience?
Ah, Great question, and thank you for that, whoever asked it, and thank you, Michael. So, um, if you look right now on so many pages, what's the buzz of the year, or maybe for the last 2 years? AI. Everybody and their grandma's talking about artificial intelligence, right? Sometimes it's good to go against the grain, and I will tell you this: if it ain't broke, break it. If it ain't broke, break it. Because sometimes it's good to be thinking different. Let me tell you. Let me answer let me answer the question first. I go to our competitors' website, staffing agency, and I'll look, and almost every one of them is featuring, well, you tell us what we want, and our AI will go in and find you the right person and throw it at you. Okay. Or we are a portal company. You just select what you want. Tell me you want that MCSE, you want the CISSP, whatever, and boom, up comes the profile of a person. You know what? I basically come back and say we're completely different. That's not what we do. That's not what you don't think that we can do a selection box and from a database, from a SQL database choice. Easy to do that. And by the way, there's nothing AI about that. And almost 90% of the time when people talk about AI, this is technology that we've had for years and years and years. It's not always AI. So it's selective. It's if then else. We've had these things, but how do we distinguish ourselves from the competition? You know what? We work on a relationship basis. When somebody calls, when somebody clicks, when somebody says, I am looking for that engineer. And by the way, I don't mind if they are working out of Mexico City as long as they can work in my time zone, 8 to 5, 8 to 6, as long as they have these qualifications, they know how to do this, they've done this before, and I can verify their experiences. So, and by the way, I'm going to save money because of that. Okay, so how do we distinguish ourselves? Well, I connect them with a person like a Michael, like myself. I will engage them personally. I want to develop that relationship. I want to say, Mr. Customer, thank you, but can we spend 5, 10 minutes on what it is that you're looking for exactly? Now, Michael has technology experience, high tech experience for decades. So do I. So I drill into the what it is that they're looking for, so I can get them that right candidate. It's not always about the price. Now, yes, we're going to come in. That's what we do. We have exceptional talent that's typically certified or degreed at a fraction of the price in the client's time zone with retention of over 95%. That's really what we're all about. That's my elevator pitch. But I do this through reinforcement and relationship. I'm going to talk to the client. I'm going to ask them a million questions if that's what it is. I apologize. And and I'm going to find out everything that they need. And then I will interview the candidates. Believe it or not, I do the interviews many times. We have 140 people, and sometimes I'm going to do the interviews because that customer is very important to me. Every customer is important to me. So I will interview people, and then you know what? I'll hand deliver that one person that I loved. I know that guy's good. He's great with people. It's not just about talent, it's also about the demeanor because that person is going to interface with my customers. I want that person that says, it's my pleasure, sir. Yes, sir. I'm going to solve that problem for you. I'm going to make it right. He speaks Spanish. Well, she speaks Spanish. She speaks English, and she's a wonderful person. They're creative. They're giving. So how do I apply these principles? I go against AI, I go against portals, I engage the client, I interview with that particular, and I know that it's small work, but that's how you deliver an experience. And when I find that wonderful person, that John Doe, I present us, I will talk to the client, I'll call him, says, I have the perfect person for you. Oh, really? Can you send me his resume? Better. That's like sending a quote, right? Can you send me his resume? Better. Do you have some time tomorrow at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock or Wednesday, whatever? Yeah, I got Wednesday at 3 o'clock. May I present him to you? And I'd like to have him there and present him to you. What did I just do? I bypassed all these artificial way and I expedited the process. And the client then have to click 50,000 different ways and find things that are who knows. So I presented him or her, that wonderful person. And at the end of that interview, and the candidate disconnects, I said, what did you think? Is that the right person? Yeah, man, he's phenomenal. Okay, well, shall we go ahead and extend an offer to him? Done. Okay, so, or if it's not the right person, let's say, okay, please tell me what I needed. So it sounds to me like I missed something, and sometimes I do. Well, Pierre, you forgot that we talked about Active Directory. They need to be able to have that experience. So when we, by the way, we work in AWS, not Microsoft Azure. Okay, great, no problem. I personally, maybe I forgot to ask some of those questions. So, Michael, it's about the relationship. It's not about artificial intelligence. And you know what? If I produce that person that's wonderful for them, they're going to come back to me next time they want a person, and next time, and next time. And they're going to save money. They're going to get a great person that works in their time zone, that speaks 2 or 3 languages. Many times they speak 3 languages, and that has a retention that's exceptional. So it's not just about saving money, but it's also about delivering that quality of service that's important to them and to their client. Next question, Michael.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. In this world of AI and the virtual experience and social media, I don't, there's nothing that can replace the personal touch, right? The personal face-to-face communication. So I couldn't agree more. Well, there are some other questions that we'll answer, in the chat in the comments.
Can we take
Uh,
one more?
uh, sure. So one of the questions that came in is, what would you say would be of all the things you talked about, the most important principle, whether it's the experience that we just talked about, whether it's managing expectations, whatever that is, the presentation, what would you say would be the most important thing that people would want to consider?
Great question. Thank you. Relationship. Relationship.
Hmm.
Be relationship driven. I always tell my techs, be less of a technician and be more of a tactician. Less of a technician and more of a tactician. Have the tact. Focus on relationship. It's not what the client does for you today or we do for the client today. It's what they do for you and what we do for them forever. You know what the most expensive thing is in my company? It's when I lose a client. That is the most expensive thing. If I lose a client that was paying me $1,000 a month to manage their places, or 2,000, whatever it is, $100, that's expensive. That loss is going to hit my bottom line. So, what is the most important thing? Relationship. If I have a great relationship with a client, then I can navigate through some of the most difficult and most turbulent waters. If I have a horrible relationship, the smallest thing can upset it. But by the way, if you have a problem, or there is a problem, and many times, I mean, we work in IT, and sometimes bad things happen. I'll tell you this: he who calls first wins. He who calls first wins. If there's a problem, pick up the phone. Don't just send out an email. Pick up the phone. Now, if you can't reach them at all, okay, but pick up the phone, call them, and say, by the way, Mr. Client, I want to tell you about this. We were wiring, and we unfortunately hit another wire, and we caused a problem. We did not know about this. Know this: we're insured and bonded and all that stuff. I just want to let you know that we're going to take care of 100% of that problem, and you're not even going to know that it existed. I want to offer my apologies for this, but we're going to take care of it. Maybe even the client didn't goes, wow, I didn't even know that happened. What's because we've already taken care of it. Okay, so he who calls first wins. That relationship. Focus on the relationship. Are there any last final thoughts?
That's all for the questions. But yeah, going back to that, I couldn't agree more about the relationship aspect. Uh, our local hardware store here where I live, I much prefer going there, even though it might be a little more expensive than Home Depot. There might not be as many options for me as at Home Depot, but there is that relationship. It's a small business. They treat us very well. They're always anxious to answer our questions or to, you know, serve us in any way that we need. So, yeah, that relationship, and I walk in and they know me. They say hi to me, like, because they know me already. So I love that, and that's very important in building your brand. So I couldn't agree more. Well, that was going to conclude this webinar. Thank you, Pierre, and thank you for all the people that joined us on this webinar. We know your time is valuable, and so we really appreciate you taking the time to hear from Pierre and to hear about building your brand and taking it to the next level, going from $2 million to $10 million in less than a couple of years. So we really appreciate your time. I'd like to just close it out by asking Pierre if he has any final thoughts before we close it out.
Yeah, if you found that this format was helpful, it's I don't do PowerPoint presentations, and that I love to maybe just speak instead of just read the bullet. Everybody can read bullet points. So if you find that these things you can take home one or two or three nuggets at the end, you spend an hour and you found, wow, I need to do this. Then tell us, let us know, please. Yes, I'd like to know more. I'd like to hear about how he does manage, how he presents managed services. So I'd like to close by saying these things, guys. I'm part of many, many, many different boards as far as like Facebook and X, Twitter, whatever we want to call it these days. And I look at the questions that come in, and people say, for example, one quick question. Somebody I saw that this morning. It's like my client is upset because we can't solve their problem in the same day, and according to the SLA that we have a week to be able to forget that. Okay, so build a practice where you're efficient, where you're going to call back the client, tell them you are on it, you're going to start working on it. So time and speed is part of developing your brand. And if you can't get to them for a week, guess what? You don't have the right people. Call us so we can get you the people so that we can reinforce this. So that's a little plug for us. But time builds prestige, your branding, your product knowledge, your image, how you dress, your specialization and focus. If you know healthcare very well, if you know legal very well, that's great. People love to deal with experts. Do that vertical expertise. Own the market, and don't be afraid to win, to try to win every single deal if it's profitable. Okay, don't just grow profitably. Profitable growth is one word, not two. Profitable growth. Thank you, everybody. It's a privilege to be speaking in front of you. I'd like to finish by talking about the our referral program. If you're not hiring but you know somebody who is, well, guess what? We have a wonderful referral program, and others will throw a Starbucks $10 coffee. Guess what we do? We give you $2,000 cash. This isn't an Amazon gift card. This isn't a shopping thing to Walmart. We mail you a check for $2,000. If you prefer an ACH, I don't care, whatever. We'll get you $2,000. Okay, introduce us through email, through a phone call, whatever you want to do it, to somebody that you know is hiring. If they end up hiring through us, as soon as we get paid, we'll mail you a check for $2,000. Okay, and there's no limitation. There's, if you know, five people, five companies that are hiring, tell me about them, but don't just throw me a URL to say, by the way, Cisco's hiring. I know that. Okay, you have to have a relationship with that person. Here again, it's about relationships. Pierre, I'd like for you to meet John Doe. He's with Cisco, and I talked to him a little about you guys, so that you guys get talent from Latin America, and they're well priced with same time zone, great experience, all that good. They speak multiple languages, great retention. So if you tell Michael or myself about that company and it ends up closing, then we will mail you a check for $2,000. Michael, what did I forget?
Not much. Just our contact information. If we could get the next slide there. So you can reach us a number of ways. You can either email us at sales@gocrossbridge.com. Again, that's sales@gocrossbridge.com. You can also go to our website, which is gocrossbridge.com, and then our phone number is on the screen there, 986 867 1059. So again, we thank you so much for being a part of this webinar. Again, we know your time is valuable, so we truly appreciate it. And I'd also like to thank Pierre for taking the time to share his wisdom with us about building your brand. Thank you, Pierre.
Thank you,
And
everyone. I'm so sorry, Michael. Please continue.
I was just going to say, with that, I would like to close out the webinar unless you have any last words there, Pierre.
Last words is, tell us, give us feedback, guys. If this
Yeah.
thing wasn't relevant, tell me, nah, it wasn't good. But if you want to hear more, by the way, this this presentation is 70 pages long, and I only hit about 13. Okay, so there's all kinds of more things, and things that I learned. None of this material is copied off of the internet. These are my experiences, how I took my company to $10 million before I sold it. In my case, I sold it to Rico, and it was wonderful. And now I do the things that I love to do, which is work with people. So it's my favorite thing. If you're a people person, you need to be in this industry. If you're not a people person, maybe just maybe being in front of customers is not the right thing. So it's my pleasure to be here. It's my pleasure to serve you guys. If you have a need for talent, for folks that need to work at exceptional rates, call us, call Michael, join us, and I promise you, you'll be super happy. Or if that person doesn't work out, by the way, that first week, it's on me. Okay, so we will not charge you, and we mean that. You'll see it. So every once in a blue moon, something happens and we make it right. We always want to make it right. That's because we want to retain you as a client for life. Note, I don't say customer, I say client. You're a client to us. Thank you, everybody. Michael, thank you so much. And I would like to thank my marketing team, our marketing team, who, by the way, has been behind all of this, fielding all of the stuff and constructing all of these things. Thank you, Isa. Thank you, Zach. Thank you, Claudia, and all of those that work for us behind the scene. All right, and that's all I have. Join us next time, will
All
you?
right. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time.